Hello everyone, thanks for joining us. So happy you're here for another informative edition of Jamaica Magazine. I'm your host, Theodore Henry. Inside today's pages, climate smart agriculture for food security. Get a better understanding of weather information and defensive driving to save lives. Stick around for these and much more. Thereafter, some upcoming important messages and the news of the day.
The Joint Select Committee of Parliament reviewing the Domestic Violence Act wants to hear from you. Review the Act and share your opinions with the committee. You can find a copy of the Act on the Parliament's website at www.japarliament.gov.jm under the heading Publications. Once you've reviewed the Act, submit your written opinions by Friday, June 14, 2024 to Clerk to the Houses, Gordon House, 81 Duke Street, Kingston, or email them at clark@japarliament.gov.jm. Let your voice be heard.
Good day, I'm Twyla Whelan and this is your JS News for Monday, June 10, 2024. Two projects aimed at enhancing communication and engagement between Jamaica and the diaspora will be launched next week. The projects will be initiated during the 10th Biennial Jamaica Diaspora Conference planned for June 16 to 19 at the Montego Bay Convention Center in St. James. State Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, Alanda Terrelong, made the announcement during a recent JS think tank session. One of the initiatives, the Diaspora Registration Portal, DRP, will streamline registration and provide a database of diaspora members. Mr. Terrelong, who has responsibility for diaspora affairs, says it can assist in the event of a crisis abroad by facilitating consular services.
So it's an important mechanism to know where Jamaicans are, know where the numbers are, in terms of how many Jamaicans are there, and also for our consular services to be able to provide them with assistance.
The second project is the Jamaica Diaspora Engagement Model, JAMDEM, which is expected to ensure that the diaspora's contributions are effectively integrated into Jamaica's National Development Plan. Minister Terrelong says the JAMDEM portal will allow Jamaicans across the diaspora to see in real time what investment opportunities there are in Jamaica and how to be engaged in those.
It will effectively integrate them into national development plans.
Beneficiaries of the government's social pension scheme are now receiving a 67% increase in their bi-monthly payments. Minister of Labour and Social Security Pernell Charles Jr. made the announcement during his recent contribution to the 2024-2025 sectoral debate in Parliament.
The budget for this financial year was increased by a whopping 165% to $1 billion. Beneficiaries will receive an increase of over 76% in their bi-monthly benefits, moving from $6,800 to $12,000.
The social pension scheme ensures all seniors over age 75 who would not normally get a pension can now benefit. Nearly 15,000 people have so far been registered under the program, which paid out more than $408 million in benefits during the 2023-2024 fiscal year. The program requires applicants to have a birth certificate or Jamaican passport to verify their age, but Minister Charles Jr. says they're making efforts to ensure more persons can benefit.
We have therefore strengthened our partnership to enable seniors to obtain their birth certificate, and we work with them. I can also announce that we've made some changes to allow for increased flexibility while also maintaining the program's integrity.
Applicants with no birth certificate or Jamaican passport will be allowed to use a voter's ID or a photograph signed by a Justice of the Peace to register for the program. 22 agricultural science students from 11 high schools across St. Elizabeth have received academic grants totaling $660,000 courtesy of Jamaican workers at Geba's Farms in the United States. The money was collected by the workers during their annual Jamaica Day celebrations in the United States, and the initiative was done in partnership with the Ministry of Labour and Social Security and Grace Kennedy Company Limited. Minister of Labour and Social Security Pernell Charles Jr. says it is a representation of a true partnership towards the development of the nation.
You cannot build a nation nation without investing in the youth and investing in the vulnerable. You can measure a nation by how they treat the most vulnerable.
During the recent handover ceremony, the students also received gift baskets. Minister of Local Government and Community Development Desmond McKenzie is renewing the call for schools to initiate fire wardens clubs in their institutions. Endorsed and supported by the Ministry of Education and Youth, the club forms part of the extracurricular program in some primary schools across the island.
This is a social transformation initiative, Madam Speaker, and I am highly optimistic that it can help to save our children's lives and create an intergenerational culture of fire that will preserve life in homes and communities across the country. I urge the schools, Madam Speaker, to buy into this project because it can save life and help to educate our children.
The Fire Wardens Club was first established in 2017 to empower students with the right knowledge, skills and attitudes to be prepared for, respond to and recover from disasters. And finally, students at Crystal House, Jamaica are now set to benefit from a range of sports and recreational activities thanks to the construction of a brand new multi-purpose court. The facility was built at a cost of $9 million from an investment by the Sports Development Foundation, SDF. The new addition to the school was made to engage students in critical thinking beyond traditional classroom settings. Minister of Sport Olivia Grange highlights the importance of the new facility.
I feel excited as this is a significant moment in the development of the sport program here at Crystal House and by extension, sport development in Jamaica at the grassroots level. The opening of this facility is consistent with the National Sports Policy, which speaks of physical education and sport as a tool that strengthens social ties and promotes intellectual and physical health.
State Minister of Education and Youth Marcia Smith says the effort coincides with Pillar 7 of the Transforming Education for National Development trend, which focuses on infrastructure and technology.
It also takes into account the holistic approach to include multi-purpose sports development such as this today. It is through sports and movement that students can develop knowledge and skills that cannot be taught elsewhere. That is how I will know that this court will be profound in the life of the school and in the lives of your children.
And that's it for JS News Today. I'm Twyla Whelan. Thanks for watching.
We know you want better roads in your towns and communities. That is why through the SPARK program, your government is allocating over $40 billion over 2 years to fix your community and rural roads. $20 billion will go towards fixing smaller roads in every area, with $150 million allocated per area. The remaining funds will be distributed based on road length and condition, ensuring areas with greater need receive more assistance. Your government is caring for you.
The proceeding was brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister.
Thanks again for sticking with us. Over 170 lives have been lost on the nation's roadways since the start of the year. We can all agree that road crashes and the resulting loss of lives is avoidable if we follow the rules and always practice the safety measures. Here now are some tips to help you do just that.
It looks like I'm all ready to go, but am I really? Yes, I'm doing all the right checks to make sure my vehicle is road ready. But what about everybody else? How do I get ready for them?
Driving to save lives, time and money in spite of the conditions around you and the actions of others. But in a nutshell, We want to ensure that, we leave our destination and we reach home safely without creating any harmful situation for any other road users.
Using the techniques of defensive driving helps you to reduce the chance of other people's mistakes affecting you and your vehicle.
You must always be aware that though you might be a good defensive driver, the other road users a lot of times aren't. People will borrow your lane, people will overtake carelessly because they're tired of being in front of a vehicle that is slower than them or a truck.
The government is targeting behavioral change among drivers to reduce the country's vehicular collisions and fatalities, and defensive driving is one of the tools. Grinnell's driving school is known for championing safe driving. Director and instructor Seth Grinnell leads us through some useful defensive driving techniques. Let's learn.
The road code says that the person who arrives first should be allowed to go first, assuming that everyone now, of course, comes to a stop at the stop sign. We'll creep to our line of vision to see if it's safe to go. I'm going to make a right turn and then I proceed. Using the cover and scan technique, when approaching an intersection, we usually want to shadow our brake, but most times what we do, we toot our horn, we don't slow down because we believe the horn will stop the person's vehicle pressing their brake for them. That's not the technique we should use. So when the light turns to green, we wait at least 2 seconds. Then we scan our intersection, ensure no one is running their light, and then we proceed safely. All right, so we're on Hope Road, and this road slopes slightly downhill. So it's very easy for you to gather speed without even knowing. Now the speed limit is 50 kilometers per hour, but I can promise you, I am going 50 now, and you realize that people will be passing me with ease. Now, one of the biggest issues here is that people always crash into the wall right at waterfalls there. Now, there are adequate road signs. We can see the road signs, the backdrop, which speaks to caution or warning, and the left arrow bent like that means left bend. So caution, left bend. Now, if you do not slow down, there's even a recommended speed here, I promise you your vehicle will only try to go straight. You will not be able to maneuver the bend, and the wall shall meet you. So the road signs should be adhered to.
Eager to learn, we quizzed Seth some more about other defensive driving techniques and how to deal with the narrow roadways, especially in rural Jamaica.
Bumper-to-bumper collisions is one of the highest crashes that we have, especially in built-up areas. Within Kingston, we have a lot of built-up areas, people who are late, people who are impatient, and the closer you are to the vehicle in front of you, the more likely that if you are distracted, if you aren't really aware of the situation, you'll end up into the back of the vehicle. Even a sneeze. Because when you sneeze, sometimes you jerk forward and before you know it, you're in someone's trunk. A lot of times what happens, you might be peacefully going about your way. Someone bad drives you, and then they give you some choice words, the body language, and you believe that you have to meet them in kind. You just have to let it go. It doesn't positively impact your driving. A lot of times it leads to you taking unnecessary risks. So you want to take extra caution, use up your horn to alert the road users in front of you that you are coming and that they should hold their side of the road and so forth.
There are many ways to deal with the far too many lives being lost on our nation's roads. Government's enactment of the New Road Traffic Act is helping to actualize the transformation by issuing harsher penalties for road safety breaches. Defensive driving puts the driver in the seat to save lives. With more calculated efforts and responsible actions, it protects the most vulnerable road users and benefits all without a cost.
Data from the National Road Safety Council shows that 90% of motorcyclists who die on our roads were not wearing a helmet. Don't let that be you. Wearing a helmet could save you and your pillion's life. In the event of a crash, the helmet can protect you against severe head injuries. Wearing a helmet can also help to reduce wind noise and light rays while driving. Let's work to reduce the carnage on our roads. Wear a helmet, ride safely.
Weather events like heavy or prolonged rainfall, hurricanes and droughts pose severe risk to life and livelihoods. So it's important for us to have information to increase our awareness for protection. In our next feature, we'll get you more prepared as we share knowledge about weather forecasts and predictions through some commonly asked questions.
Even though a trough is likely for the island next week, tomorrow will be perfect for beachgoers. So expect bright sunshine and clear skies all day.
Yeah, right. Like how yesterday, Una tell me say it's go bright and pretty. I wash my clothes and a pure rainfall. I'll know them not dry.
And today, we want to hear from you, our viewers. So call us now to get your weather questions answered.
Yeah, man, me go now call.
And we have a call online now. What is your question?
How come you tell me that today I go bright and pretty and a pure rainfall in my community?
It's not as simple as you might think to predict weather with full accuracy. To provide a forecast, we measure and assess current atmospheric conditions over various areas and compare that to previous observations. This allows us to have a general idea of what conditions to expect in a particular area. Rainfall, however, can be difficult to forecast, especially for small areas. From our analyses and observations, we can know that conditions will be ideal for rainfall, and we have a good idea of the general region where rain is likely, but it is sometimes difficult to give that precise location.
Oh, so you're saying even though you can tell me it will rain in my town, you can't necessarily tell me it will rain in my little district?
You've got it.
Oh, wait, I have another question. But you're not talking about one system where going to affect the island. Where next week? You think it's so early we need to know about that?
When it comes to telling the public about severe weather, the nature of the system determines how soon we start to share that information. For systems like tropical wave or a trough that may produce severe weather, advisories are issued 2 to 3 days before a system is forecasted to affect our area. For tropical cyclones such as hurricanes, advisories are issued once a system is expected to be formed within 48 hours, even if it will not affect Jamaica.
You know what else me always want to know? The Met Office and ADPEM, them do the same thing?
No. The Met Service is responsible for monitoring the weather conditions over the island and territorial waters and issuing reliable and timely weather services. ADPEM, which stands for the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management, is responsible for maintaining a state of national preparedness for all types of disasters. When the system that could cause a disaster is a weather phenomenon, the Met Service monitors the progress to forecast and to determine the extent of the weather conditions.
You know, I never know there's so much things the Met Service do, and that weather forecasting is so complicated.
Yes, it is. And if you have more questions in the future, please feel free to contact the Met Service.
We're now turning your attention to another important matter that concerns our well-being. It's about food security, which takes on added significance and urgency in light of climate change.
With a degree of increasing urgency on our actions to combat fast rising temperatures and slow sea levels eroding closer inland, what we do about climate change today will matter. The effects of climate change are far-reaching, and food security is one of the areas affected. As protecting our food security remains a high-level priority, climate-smart agriculture takes on increasing importance. This way of harvesting food uses better farming practices to reduce its contributions to greenhouse gas emissions, while increasing production output. Smart agricultural practices include reducing deforestation, better soil management, and intercropping. Climate-smart agriculture practices are intended to achieve three major outcomes. 1. Increased productivity. More food is needed to feed the global population as it continues to grow exponentially. Equally important is ensuring sustainable incomes for farmers, distributors, and key players driving the agriculture industry. Data from the World Bank indicates that 75% of the world's poor who live in rural areas rely on agriculture for their livelihoods. Number 2. Resilience to climate change threats. Increasing severe weather conditions caused by a warmer Earth means more drastic impact on agriculture output. To prevent this from happening, farmers can implement these practices, changing crops and livestock to ones better suited to the climate, and using technology to develop resistant variations of foods such as rice and bean plants. 3. Reduce greenhouse gas emissions, caused by farming inputs such as fertilizers. Sharply reducing the use of fertilizers that produce gases such as carbon dioxide and nitrogen through crop rotation practices is one green-checked option. To truly practice proper climate-smart techniques, the dialogue must be tailored to the different climate experiences across the world. In Jamaica's context, areas of major concern include the island's vulnerability to hurricanes, flooding, and droughts. The government has been implementing several programs at the community and national levels in partnership with regional and international agencies. The mission is to build climate resilience in Jamaica's agriculture sector.
We are investing $230,000 US in partnership with the Caribbean Agricultural Research and Development Institute, CARDI, for a pilot program on climate resilience, on the expansion and upgrading of seed storage facility at the Bodles Research Station. This is important. This facility is going to house the best quality seeds, including our own seed source from locally developed and indigenous landrace types for vegetables, cover crops, field crops, and legumes.
The Bodles Research Station is just one aspect of Jamaica's strategic plan to ensure sustainable crop production through proper seed storage. Planting crops conducive to the rainy and dry season is another climate-resilient food security measure.
Our goal is to encourage our farmers to plant more, but not just to plant more. We want to plant the heat and drought-tolerant varieties of crops, such as cassava, which are more suitable for our climate.
In the fisheries sector, several fish sanctuaries have been declared and fish farmers trained. Meanwhile, the Jamaica Forage Club recently partnered with the United Nations Development Programme UNDP to train 600 youth farmers and fishers on how to utilize agriculture practices that will withstand climate change and how to recover quickly from its impact. The 6-month pilot project will run from September 2022 to February 2023. A major part of implementing smarter farming practices is the collaboration of all partners involved in this sector. As more information emerges, followed by more robust action on climate change policies from countries across the globe, the agriculture sector will be in a better position to meet the food production demand.
very low unemployment rate. Jamaica still has a significant number of great potential human resource outside of the labor force. Many of them are on the street corners, boring a hole in their hand middle. Some of them are drawn into crime and other deviant behavior. And some of them just choose to stay at home. We need you in the labor force, in the workforce, in order to ensure that our economy can continue to grow. In fact, this is probably the first time in maybe 4 or 5 decades that the availability of labor could be a constraint on our growth. Meaning that if businesses who want to expand can't find the labor force to do it, it will impact on their investment decisions. So right now, your government recognizing this, we have appointed a Minister of Skill whose job it is, through the Heart Trust NSTA, to find those youngsters, particularly those youngsters who left school, they have some training, but they just don't want to come into the labor force for whatever reason, to bring them into the labor force, to train them with skills that are aligned to the job opportunities and get them into the labor force. We want to get them employed, but we also need them in the labor force because that is what is going to expand the growth of the economy.
All motorists, pedestrians, private and public operators, motorcyclists, it is important for us to drive defensively. Driving defensively saves lives, and we know that lives are most important to each and every one of us. It is important also to be trained and certified as a defensive driver, for it increases the likelihood that you'll prevent collisions on our roadways.
Our half-hour journey through the pages of Jamaica Magazine ends right here for today. But please join us again tomorrow on this station for more news, features, and information you can use. In the meantime, please visit our website, jis.gov.jm, for this and other offerings. On behalf of the entire production team, I'm Theodore Henry. Till such time, walk good, live good.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.